When I graduated from the university, I graduated with a 2.2, though when I got my transcript, I recalculated it and I finished with a 2.1, but that's another story. So one, I had been looking for a job for a very long time. And one day I just woke up and I said, let me take stock of my skill sets. So I began to write all the skills. So a lot of it was based on the things I learned at infographics, web design, computer engineering, networking, setting up a LAN, and that's local area network, and so on. I took stock, and of course, marketing and all that. So I took stock of all of that. And that day, my company started. I began to market the company. Again, that's another story. I started the company with zero capital. Fast forward, I came here to do, again, in university, I studied electrical electronics engineering. In the final year, we had 3 options to specialize. One was control, second was electronics, the third one was computing and communications. So I majored in computing and communications, and then again, admission to Bournemouth University here in the UK to study advanced computing. So both knowledge in computer engineering, knowledge in computing and communications. I came here to do my master's in advanced computing. Now, when I finished the course, the university invited me to come and work for them. Again, we can explore that. Now, one of the things they checked was they checked my CV and the experience I gathered when I was working for myself.
Wow.
I put on my CV. They checked all of these things and they said that, can you teach students these things that you demonstrated?
Wow.
And I said, of course, yes. So that's how I got enrolled, as in I became a member of staff, a teaching member of staff.
Different parts of the world, welcome back to Narrative and Beyond with Mr. Adekunle. I see have my
This is Narrative and Beyond with Michael Adekunle as your host. You're welcome to this platform today. This episode is going to be very interesting, actually. I have an important guest on this show today, and I'm sure that you will be inspired, you will be blessed, you'll be imparted as well by his story. And today, please join me to welcome Dr. Toyin Fakorede.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here. It's actually a privilege. And thank you, Pastor Mike, for being a blessing. I think the show has really been a blessing to the world. So it's an honor for me to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And let me just add this. I've known him for over 20 years now. And so many things that he's going to be saying, the conversation we'll be having, I needed to pay attention because he's been a very consistent man. I can assure you of that. So I like you to listen. Just sit back and listen very well to some of the things he's going to be saying. Can you please tell us? Thank you for coming on this show today. Can you please tell us?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Can you please tell us about your early life and upbringing? How did you get to this stage, to this level, to this phase of your life?
Okay, very good question. I was born in Lagos, Nigeria, the last of 5 children. I've always had a desire for leadership, for purpose, and excellence. So I was brought up in Celestial Church of Christ, but I found Jesus at the age of 14, thereabout, and he has completely changed my life. In terms of, like I said earlier, I've always had this desire for leadership. So in my secondary school, something strange happened. I was the senior prefect, but the way it happened was I was in SS2 when I became the senior prefect.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. In SS3, the senior prefect somehow misbehaved, so they removed him out of office.
Oh.
And then they couldn't find anyone worthy of becoming the senior prefect. So they looked to to SS2 to find, and I was appointed to become the senior prefect. And by the grace of God, I used the opportunity. I used the assembly as my platform to preach, to teach students. And And in terms of academically, I think, yes, I was the best in several subjects. In 1994, when I met the Lord said to me, when I gave my life to Christ, the Lord led me to join Citadel Global Community Church, formerly known as the Latter Rain Assembly.
Yes.
And I thank God for the life of my father and the Lord, Dr. Tunde Bakare. It was that same year, 1994, that, I got baptized in the Holy Spirit. The same year, the Lord showed me that the Lord showed me a vision where I was preaching by the seaside. Unknown to me, 16 years later, I'll be pastoring a church by the seaside.
Wow.
Yes, and the Lord gave me the name of the ministry at that age, at the 1994,
Wow.
Breath of Life Faith Ministry. So yes, we've come a long way. And then so again, when I got to Citadel Global Community Church, then Latter Rain Assembly, I was appointed to become the president of the Teens Fellowship, then Young Pioneers Fellowship.
Interesting.
And then when I got to university, I was one of the people that pioneered a ministry called Cyrus Company. I was an ESCO in Redeemed Christian Fellowship. And then from there, when I went to serve during my NYC, I was the general secretary. I served in Katsina State.
Oh, NCCF.
NCCF, yes. I was the general secretary.
Oh.
And then, so we can see here the consistency in terms of leadership.
There's a pattern.
It goes back to my passion whilst I was growing, passion for leadership, for excellence, and to live a purposeful life, an impactful life. And then when I came to Bournemouth, my first night in Bournemouth, I came to Bournemouth straight away from Nigeria. And my first night, the Lord said to me, I'm giving you this city. And I came here to do my master's. So when I finished my master's, I wasn't looking for a job anywhere outside of Bournemouth because the Lord had already spoken. It's important.
City.
When you know the will of God, it's easier for you to navigate life.
That's true.
And since that time, I'm just focusing on what God would have me do. And then 2010, Breath of Life started. So that is more like my spiritual journey. In terms of career and professional journey, yes. Maybe I should hold on that. Let me allow you to ask questions in that regard. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. You've taken us through a journey. I'm still going to go back to some of the things you've said because I know that what you just summarize in a few minutes, there are so many sides to what you just said.
Correct.
So I will still revisit it. But let me first ask, what first sparked your interest in tech, in technology? What sparked your interest in tech as a younger, you?
Okay, good question. When back in the University of Ado-Ekiti, now EXU, in my first year, there was the lecturers went on strike. So I don't know if you recall, that was back in 1997.
Yes.
They went on strike. And so during that time, I took advantage of that waiting season because I believe that waiting season should not be wasted. Rather, it should be invested in growth and capacity development.
That's instructive.
So so in our church, we had the youth fellowship, we're hosting a session on career, and this female entrepreneur spoke, and she spoke really well in the area of computer engineering. So I went to her and I said to her that, okay, I would like to learn more about computing and so on and so forth. So she then said, all right, that she would introduce me to our own tutor. So the following day, we had an appointment to meet at Computer Village, Ikeja, Lagos.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Computer Village. She introduced me to her boss, and the boss said, her tutor or coach said to me, okay, I should bring 12,500 pounds. I'm sorry, Naira. Yes. So I felt, okay, if what is worth doing is worth doing well. If I'm going to learn computer engineering, let me learn it in a proper, structured environment. So I started looking for a computer engineering college. So I found one, Lexington Computer College. They asked me to pay 25,000 Naira. I enrolled and I learned that I was there. The strike lasted for around 3 months, thereabout. So I was there, learned, obtained a diploma in computer engineering. 3 years down the line, then the cut off the strike, went back to uni. 3 years down the line, it was time for us to do placements then in the university. And so all the places I applied to, I got invited for an interview at Infographics Nigeria Limited. During the interview, no, I wrote a test and then the interview. Both the test and the interviews, the question they asked me were not based on what I learned at the university. They were based on the things I learned when I did during the computer engineering, when I went to obtain my diploma in computer engineering. During the strike period.
Wow.
To see how, when you do something at the right time, at the right time, you may never know the ripple effect of it. So thankfully, I passed the test, I passed the interview, and then the experience I gained that period laid my foundation in IT. All right.
Wow.
And then when I graduated from the university, I graduated with a 2.2. Though when I got my transcript, I recalculated it and I finished with a 2.1. But that's another story. So one day I had been looking for a job for a very long time. And one day I just woke up and I said, let me take stock of my skill sets. So I began to write all the skills. So a lot of it was based on the things I learned at Infographics, web design, computer engineering, networking, setting up a LAN, and that's local area network, and so on. I took stock, and of course, marketing and all that. So I took stock of all of that. And that day, my company started. I began to market the company. Again, that's another story. I started the company with zero capital. Fast forward, I came here to do, again, in university, I studied electrical electronics engineering. In the final year, we had 3 options to specialize. One was control, second was electronics, the third one was computing and communications. So I majored in computing and communications, and then I gained admission to Bournemouth University here in the UK to study advanced computing. So both knowledge in computer engineering, knowledge in computing and communications, I came here to do my master's in advanced computing. Now, when I finished the course, the university invited me to come and work for them. Again, we can explore that. Now, one of the things they checked was they checked my CV and the experience I gathered when I was working for myself.
Wow.
I put on my CV. They checked all of these things and they said, can you teach students these things that you demonstrated?
Wow.
And I said, of course, yes. So that's how I got enrolled, as in I became a member of staff, a teaching member of staff at Bournemouth University. And from there, the role included a sponsored PhD in business process. Well, the PhD, you need to find an area where you want to do your research or area you want to specialize. So from there, I did a PhD. When I finished the PhD, I got a job within the financial services. So in a nutshell, I've told the story briefly to explain how I got to where I am today.
Wow, very interesting. Okay. How did you switch from engineering to business process improvement to business analysis? How I've seen switches,
Yes.
in your story.
Yeah.
And how did you switch?
Okay, very good question. Again, when I came here to study engineer, of course, I've explained how I majored in computing and communications, and then I came here to study advanced computing. Now, interestingly, when I was doing my master's dissertation, the supervisor I wanted wasn't the person I got.
See.
Again, we can see God orchestrating things behind the scene. Everything about my story, you can see when the Bible said the steps of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord. The person I wanted wasn't the person I got. So the person who supervised me, she wasn't skilled. It wasn't a area of expertise. But she said that, you know what, you do your research and I will guide you in terms of constructing the structure of your essay, your dissertation, and I'll also in the kind of in research methodology. But about technical stuff, that's not my forte. So I did that. So to cut a long story short, I did the dissertation and I graduated with a distinction.
Awesome.
Now, after that, I was working somewhere else. To tell you how I got that job, a colleague of, not a colleague, a neighbor, a housemate came to my property, and we got chatting. I was telling the person that I was job hunting, and he said to me, okay, that they have vacancy in their workplace. So I applied on Thursday, got called for interview on Friday, and on Monday, I resumed.
Wow.
Yeah, that was so quick.
Wow, so quick.
Yeah, very quick. And then somehow, in the university, now I was doing two jobs. I was working at ASDA, and I was doing that new job. So two jobs. But I realized that ASDA was night shifts, and that was really taking my time. So I said to God that it was impacting my commitment in church. So I said to myself, okay, I was going to give her that job, and for God. At the end of the day, shortly moments after that, someone got in touch with me, a friend of mine, saying that they've been talking about me in the university, the computing department, research department, that unknown to me, my supervisor was one of the directors of that research center.
Wow.
So they sent for me and they said I should come and work for them. And that is how I started, I was invited. So I quit the job, started working for the university. And of course, that came with a sponsored PhD. Not only that, in my teaching role, I was doing I was teaching business systems analysis and design. First year, I was teaching system design. Second year, I was teaching programming, computer fundamentals, IT applications development, masters, business system design, masters. So my teaching cut across first year to masters. So given that experience, I began to see gaps in business analysis.
I see.
So you can see the connection here. Gap in business analysis. So when I started doing my PhD, I changed topics 3 times. But finally, I arrived at developing a novel framework for improving business processes. And that's because I had seen the gaps. And then I came up with a framework that will help cover those gaps. And that's how I got into business process improvement. And not too long ago, I got my green belt in Lean Six Sigma certification.
Oh, wow. It seems that you've always been very brilliant. Is it innate? Like you were born with it, or it's something you have to develop? Because it can be either way. It can be,
Correct. Yeah, it can be either
or it's
way.
both.
I would say it's both. I mean,
Okay.
even when one, you see, potential has to be developed. For example, you look at the seed. A seed doesn't look pretty, but it has potential. A seed looks dead. It has everything in it for it to blossom, but you have to place it in the right environment. You have to nurture it for it to become a massive tree, a fruitful tree. The same thing, one may have the potential, may have the ability, the intelligence, but if it's not developed, if there's no capacity enlargement, then one will not be able to maximize that potential. So I would say, yes, a lot of hard work has gone into it. Take, for example, in terms of, whilst I was doing my PhD, of course, I was raising a family, I was working full-time, pastoring a church. These are heavy things that we had to do all at the same time. And the grace of God has really, really granted us, given the grace to overcome the frictions of life.
Very interesting story. Something just came to my mind now. How were you able to start your own business at that age?
Okay.
You started a business yourself, registered, and you started doing it. And like you said, that was one of the things that gave you the opportunity.
Correct.
When you finish your masters and they're looking for, someone to bridge a gap at BU. So how did you even start? How did you
Okay.
even start that business? Did you get mentoring? And can you also advise those who want to start business, young people, maybe
Yeah.
undergrad students who want to start business to support themselves? How can they go about it?
Yeah, like people say, necessity is the mother of invention. I was growing up, I couldn't watch myself being jobless. I knew my potential, I knew what I could do. And sometimes we don't know what we're capable of until we try. I'd been looking for a job, applying to, I really wanted to work in a bank. Yeah, work in a bank, but the jobs were, or IT company, within the tech department, but the jobs were not forthcoming. So that day I just woke up, I had nothing, but I took stock, like I said earlier, of my skill sets. And I thought, okay, then I came up with a strategy. This is where I want to be, this is where I'm right now. How do I bridge the gap? So I mapped out the strategy to say, okay, these are my skill set. Who are the people that will be in need of my skill sets? Where would the demand come from? So I looked at primary schools, secondary schools within my area. Again, remember that I had zero capital. I didn't even have money for transport fare.
Wow.
Yeah, when this started. Remember, this was around 11 a.m. on a weekday. So I dressed up, wrote all my strategies, put everything on paper, start with secondary or primary or secondary school, tell them what you're capable of. I didn't have letterheaded paper, I didn't have a business card. The only thing I had was my mouth and myself.
Wow.
So I dressed well, of course, not my tie well, put on my suit, went to the company, to the schools, and I began to tell them, this is who I am, this is what I'm capable to do, these are the problems I can solve for your organization. They asked me for their business card. I said, well, it's a new company, we don't have a business card now, but here's my number. If you want to reach me, call me, write it on paper. And that day, I remember working, going to different schools in that area. I think I worked for around 4 hours that day, just going, talking to schools and all of that. And then now God rewards labor. He rewards labor. Started from nothing. And then gradually doors began to open for me.
Wow.
Yeah, doors began to open for me. And it got to a point that somebody was telling me that, okay, because again, some of the things I could do, for example, training was part of it, web design. I've mentioned them in the past anyway. So a lady said to me, I met a lady, and she said to me that she heard me speak, and she said she would like me to train all our members of staff in our school in Lagos. And she was willing to take me to Anambra State to train our members of staff.
Wow.
Another one got in touch with me. She said, okay, that she would like me to supply computer systems to her school, worth ₦1 million at that time. At that time, yes.
That's well over 20 years ago.
Yes. And I began to, from there, my clients were now based in Victoria Island.
Oh.
Yes. So I began to get some little changes here and there. So that's my story, from nothing, from zero to hero, as they say.
So obviously it wasn't money that was driving you at that time. You were trying to solve a problem.
Yes, I was trying to solve a problem, correct.
So what would be your advice to young people? Because these days, so many people will say there is no job. Because of that, they just, browsing the internet, the social media and all of that. You see a lot of young people actually even, reaching out to you on social media to tell you that they need money.
Yeah.
And then they were able to get money to buy data to come on social media.
Yeah.
So what would be your advice to young people so that they can maximize their potentials in this wise? If there is no job, how do you create job like you did?
Exactly. Very good question. I want to say first thing you have to do is to overcome excuses. Excuses are like stones. They are everywhere. Everyone can throw excuses. But the thing is, you have to accept responsibility for your own future. Now, again, there is always something you can do. And for example, we've seen people who started doing skits on social media. They started from zero. And a lot of them, from the skits they started, they're building empires, they're building houses, and and so on and so forth. So there is always something you can do. No one was born without a gift. So look inwards and check, what can I do that will add value to people. People paid for value. Value is anything a business can pay for, a consumer can pay for. So in what place, what problem could you solve? Now the thing is, don't go after money. Look for problems to solve. And as you begin to solve the problem, the rewards may not come immediately, but keep solving those problems. At the end of the day, you are building a track record. And one day, someone will look at your track record of success and will reward you handsomely for it.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take you back to when you left Lagos, Nigeria to come to the UK, all by yourself, to do masters and all of that. That's over 2 decades ago.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. There are so many people who are trying to get in now. I'm sure that you didn't become a research assistant or a research fellow in one day. You started from, doing different things. I believe. You mentioned working in Asda, and Asda is a supermarket actually. So for those who are just arriving, because I've seen a few young people reaching out to say they couldn't get jobs, they don't know what to do. Maybe because some of them have worked in the banks in Africa and they want to get here. And what should they do when you just arrive UK, for instance? As a case study, what should you do to be able to thrive and to be able to integrate into this system?
Good question. And I think I will, substantiate this with my story. When I came here, of course, I had tuition fees to pay. My dad was meant to be my sponsor, but he passed away shortly before I arrived here in the UK.
Wow.
And so I had bills to pay. My second week in the UK, I had £20 left. £20 left. No job, no sponsor, nothing. I went to the university to see how they could help me. There was no help. In fact, I was told I had to go back. Yeah, I had to go back to Nigeria. And I said, no, my portion. Never my portion in Jesus' name. So anyways, so what did I do? Somehow, again, God so willing, divine direction is quite important. I remember the Lord showed me a vision that day. I saw myself wearing a uniform and I was working somewhere. So that occurred to me that, okay, I should be ready to take up any odd job, as they say, as a codified. So that day I went to the student union. That was my second week in the UK. Went to the student union that I was looking for a job. And the lady said to me that a job advert came out that day at the school university's refectory, restaurant. So I said that I'm new here, I don't know anywhere. She left her office. She took me by the hand.
Wow.
And she took me to the assistant manager, the person who posted the job, and said to him, this guy is looking for a job.
Wow.
She introduced me to him, and that's divine favor.
Wow.
And she went back to her office. I don't know what the lady looks like today.
Wow.
And then the guy interviewed me, and he said I should bring my CV.
He interviewed you that same day?
No, sorry, the following day.
Okay, the following day.
He said I should bring my CV.
Wow.
So I brought my CV to him. He looked at my CV, and he asked me, because again on my CV, CEO, Cyber Technologies Limited, I saw all the jobs I had done, and he said to me, are you okay? Can you do this job? Because the title is General Assistant. I'll be washing plates, packing plates that students used to eat, and I'll be taking them to the kitchen.
And you've been CEO in Lagos.
In Lagos, Nigeria. So I said, of course, I said, I'll gladly take the job. And so the guy saw my positive attitude and he offered me the job.
Wow.
And he said to me that if I could get someone like myself, I should introduce the person to him.
Wow.
So I went back to my hostel, Cranbourne House at that time, told one of my friends, I see there's an opening, come and do the job as well. And, and I was doing the job with gladness of heart, nothing to be ashamed of, because I know that one is not an end, it's a means to an end. It doesn't define who I am.
It's part of the story.
It's part of the story. And look at me today, the story has truly changed by the grace of God.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I did that, and so that was first semester. Second semester, I was offered a promotion. The promotion was that I would start selling bread, baguettes.
Within the same
We
restaurant.
did the same restaurant, yes. Start selling baguette, and the benefit of that job was that, I'll get free lunch and free dinner.
Wow.
Yeah. So as soon as I finished,
The problem is solved.
problem solved. And so after, and you know what, the good thing about God is just so good, because the way the restaurant thing, I was asked to resume between 12 and 2 every day. And that was like, of course, lunchtime, when the busiest time of the day.
Yeah, that's the peak period.
Yeah, peak period. And in way the Lord arranged my timetable, I didn't have clashes. To let you see.
That's your academic timetable now.
Academic timetable. I was a student. I didn't have, there was no clash at all. The way God ordered it. So it worked perfectly well for me. And then when I got offered the promotion, I was to resume 3:30. So, but afternoon, and I work 3:30. No, resume, actually get around 3:30, prepare, do all the preparatory works, then start from at 4, finish at 7:30. And so I was doing that. And so when I get there, I had access to, I could eat free lunch and then free dinner. And another thing they said to me was, because I saw a lot of, every time they throw food away, they waste food. And I said to them, is it okay for me to take this food? Instead of you binning them, can I take them to the hostel? There are people in need of food. So the manager said, yeah,
that's
it's okay.
leftover now.
Yeah, leftovers, yeah. I told them I will take it to my friends back in the hostel, fellow Nigerians, and they'll gather in my room and we'll feast. Anyway, that's an aside.
Yeah.
But that way I was able to help myself to pay part of my future. But of course, it wasn't enough. And I couldn't exceed the 20 hours.
Yes.
So it wasn't enough. But again, God so good. I went to speak to the finance director of the university then. And I said to her that, yes, I had all of these things sorted, but unfortunately my dad passed away. That could they come up with a payment plan, affordable payment plan for me?
Can do instrumentally.
Exactly. And then when I finish graduate, I'll pay everything off. And they agreed to the plan by the grace of God. Now, before that time, I remember the university chasing me to say I needed to pay off my bills. It was so, and I felt really, really terrified. So I went to meet the programs administrator saying that I'm really, really bothered. And the lady said that she will stand as a guarantor for me. Again, that's another strange favor.
That wasn't someone you knew before that time.
No, she was a programs administrator, just like general
regular, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she phoned finance department and she said that she's standing as a guarantor for this guy. Stop bothering him. Stop bothering him. I'll stand as a guarantor. When he finishes, when he's ready to pay, he will pay the tuition fees.
Wow.
The lady, she's late now. She was a Christian, so she's going to be with the Lord now.
Oh,
the Lord used her for me to be a blessing to me.
Wow.
Yeah. And so these are the favors I enjoyed to be. So everything I've enjoyed is by the grace and the favor of God. And indeed, when I graduated, plus the job I was doing, and then started working for the university, I was able to pay off my tuition fees. And as I say, I'm where I am today.
The rest is history.
By the grace of God. Yes, the rest is history.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to pause here. We'll come back for part 2. Just stay tuned because it's getting so interesting. I'm just getting into the substance of the matter because there are so many things that Dr. Toyin has mentioned that I'm going to be mentioning. Thank you and stay tuned.
Welcome back to Narrative and Beyond with myself. I still have my